Your Gucci handbag just became a weapon, not in the way you think. In September 2025, the receipt for that bag, along with your name, your address, and your phone number, was put up for sale on the dark web. And the price tag on your purchases didn't just show what you bought, it painted a target on your back. This isn't a movie plot. This is the story of how the world's most glamorous fashion empire, Kering, the owner of Gucci, Balenciaga, and Alexander McQueen, was brought to its knees by one of the oldest tricks in the book. A hacker group didn't just steal data. They stole a list of the world's wealthiest shoppers and turned their love for luxury into their single greatest vulnerability. And it all started months earlier with a single deceptive click. Back in April of 2025, a ghost slipped into the machine. While the fashion world was focused on the next season's trends, a group of hackers was quietly mapping out the digital heart of Kering. They didn't use some undiscovered zero-day exploit or a piece of hyper-advanced malware. Their key to the kingdom was far simpler and far more human. They launched a sophisticated phishing campaign. For most of us, that means a sketchy email from a Nigerian prince. But this was different. The hackers targeted Kering employees with meticulously crafted fake login pages for Salesforce, the massive customer management platform that powers countless global companies. An employee, likely busy with a dozen other tasks, saw what looked like a legitimate request to log in. They entered their credentials, and just like that, the door was unlocked. The hackers were in. For months, they moved silently. They had access, but they weren't making a scene. They weren't after credit card numbers or bank details. Kering systems kept that data separate, thankfully. No, this group was after something they considered far more valuable. They were building a list of names, email addresses, phone numbers, and physical addresses for the clients of Gucci, Balenciaga, and McQueen. But here's the detail that turned this from a standard data breach into a high-stakes crisis. They also scraped the total purchase amounts for each customer. They weren't just stealing identities, they were creating detailed profiles of high-net-worth individuals. They now knew who was spending $10,000, $50,000, or in one verified case, $86,000 on luxury goods. They had a directory of the rich, complete with contact information and a certified measure of their wealth. And in June, after 2 months of silent observation, the ghost decided it was time to speak. That's when Kering got the message. The hacker group calling themselves Shiny Hunters reached out. The name itself is a tell. They're known for targeting companies with valuable or shiny data. They didn't just inform Kering of the breach. They presented them with an ultimatum. This is a tactic called double extortion. First, they steal your data. Second, they threaten to leak it publicly if you don't pay a ransom. Suddenly, Kering was in an impossible position. They hadn't even detected the breach themselves. The criminals had to tell them. This fact alone raised massive questions about their internal security monitoring. The company immediately did what it was supposed to do. They alerted the authorities in France and began the long process of figuring out who was affected. In their initial statements, they described the breach as affecting limited customer data. But Shiny Hunters had a very different story. The hackers claimed they had 7.4 million customer records. Some reports even suggested the number could be as high as 43 million. While Kering was trying to manage the crisis quietly, Shiny Hunters was preparing to turn it into a public spectacle. Kering refused to negotiate or pay the ransom, following the advice of nearly every cybersecurity expert on the planet. Never fund criminal enterprises. It was the right call, but it was also a trigger. By refusing to pay, Kering knew the data would eventually leak. They were just buying time. That time ran out in September. After months of tense silence, Shiny Hunters went public. They started by leaking samples of the stolen data to journalists and security researchers to prove they had the goods. Media outlets like the BBC were able to verify that the samples contained real customer information. Then, the full data set appeared on dark web forums, up for sale to the highest bidder. The limited breach was now a full-blown firestorm. And this is where the true danger of the attack becomes clear. The lack of credit card information made some people breathe a sigh of relief. But they were missing the point. The real weapon wasn't the financial data. It was the spending data. Imagine you're a scammer. You can now buy a list that tells you exactly who spent $86,000 at Gucci. You have their name, their email, and their phone number. You can craft a phishing email that says, "Dear Jane Doe, regarding your recent order, G12345, including the Dionysus handbag, there's been a shipping issue. Please click here to confirm your details." The level of personalization makes it almost irresistible. The data paints a target. It allows criminals to bypass generic spam filters and go directly after individuals they know have significant disposable income. It enables everything from hyper-targeted scams to potential real-world threats like home invasions, now that they have physical addresses. The irony is crushing. The very act of buying into a world of exclusivity and status had made these customers targets in the most public way imaginable. Balenciaga, a brand that cultivates an image of edgy, counterculture cool, was now at the center of a very real, very corporate cybersecurity drama. Kering's official response in mid-September was to confirm the incident, reiterate that they had reported it back in June, and state that they had strengthened their security with multi-factor authentication and other measures. They stood firm on their refusal to pay the ransom, but the damage to their reputation was already done. The discrepancy between their limited data assessment and the hackers' 7.4 million record claim fueled a debate about corporate transparency. Were they downplaying the scale to avoid panic, or were they genuinely unaware of the full scope until it was too late? This breach wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a larger surge in attacks against major retailers throughout 2025, with groups like Shiny Hunters realizing that customer data from trusted brands is a goldmine. As cybersecurity expert Ade Klulo from NCC Group noted, ransomware attacks have become a prolonged battle designed to drain a company's resources and pressure them into paying. Kering's refusal to pay was a crucial move in that battle, sending a message that extortion doesn't work. But for the 7.4 million customers whose data is now floating around the dark web, that's cold comfort. So, what can we actually learn from this? For massive corporations, it's a brutal reminder that your security is only as strong as your most vulnerable employee. All the firewalls in the world can't protect you from a single person falling for a well-made fake login screen. For the rest of us, it's a lesson in digital hygiene. Use unique passwords. Enable multi-factor authentication everywhere you can. Be ruthlessly skeptical of any email asking for your information, no matter how legitimate it looks. The Kering data breach serves as a perfect, terrifying symbol of our modern world. Brands spend billions crafting an image of untouchable luxury. But in reality, they are as fragile as any other business in the digital age. Their most valuable asset isn't their designs or their storefronts, it's the trust of their customers. And once that trust is broken, it's incredibly difficult to earn back. The investigation continues, but the list of high-profile spenders is already out there, a permanent stain on the pristine image of luxury. This story is a crucial reminder that in the digital age, your data is the real luxury good. Let me know in the comments, does a breach like this change how you feel about luxury brands? And make sure you subscribe, because the next big breach is always just one click away.